Bonjour, messieurs, mesdames. Bienvenue au webinaire sur le thème Divergent Thinking, non-linear method of identifying the gender of French nouns. Nous avons le grand plaisir de vous accueillir tous et toutes. Tout d'abord, je remercie M. Dr. Arun Kumar Sankalingam, the Director of Association of Indian French Professionals and Researchers India, pour accepter notre invitation et organiser cette formation en ligne. Également, je remercie le directeur M. Arun Reddy pour accepter et organiser cette formation pour bien bénéficier des élèves en enseignant le français. Merci de commission. À ce moment, je voudrais remercier Mme Amélie, l'attachée coordinatrice pour le français et de langage de France des Émirats arabes unis, pour votre coordination, orientation et encourager les enseignants de français dans le pays de Golfe. Un grand merci, Madame. Finalement, je remercie tous les participants qui sont présentés ici. Very good evening, one and all. It's a great pleasure to invite the dignitaries, Mr. Aureka Reddy, the principal of Ambassador School Saja, our primary head, Ms. Shanti Venkataman, and all other principals and headmistresses who are present for this grand inauguration of the global webinar. We welcome the French teachers and students from all the GCC countries, India, Uganda, Japan, and the United States, who are participating in this webinar today. Yes, indeed, a great honor to have a great eminent trainer, a professor amongst our midst, to share his knowledge and train us on various pedagogical practices and strategies to be adopted in our teaching career. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Arun Kumar Santalingam, who is an entrepreneur, a trainer for trainers of Institut Français India, and who is also a tutor of Profleur Plus of France Education International, and a director of Association of Indian French Professionals and Researchers India, to accept our invitation and conduct this online training. At the foremost, I thank our principal, sir, Mr. Aureka Reddy, the principal of Ambassador School Saja, to accept and take it further and organize this webinar and inviting all the French teachers in the GCC countries. Thank you, sir, for all your support, guidance, and motivation. Now, I would like to call upon our principal, sir, Mr. Aureka Reddy, to deliver the keynote address.
Bonjour, good evening, everyone. I'm sure this evening is going to be a great learning experience for all the teachers of French as well as the students of French. And I'm sure along with the students, there are many parents who are attending this webinar. So it's going to give each one of us a lot of insight into French language. And I'm honored and very grateful to Dr. Arun Kumar Santalingam for accepting our invitation to spare his time to educate all of us. And as Mr. Kaber said, he's a trainer of trainers. So that's a great responsibility. And he also leads the research and the scholars. So I'm sure his immense knowledge and vast experience with a lot of researchers will help us in strengthening our language competency. Now, Ambassador School has been strengthening all the students across and in much more focus on the French language, because most of the students across the world, and especially the non-native speakers of French, feel that the language is a barrier for them to go to the higher studies or to migrate to other parts of the world. And with that endeavor, we have been strengthening our students to be proficient in French and Arabic, of course, but we have been conducting many sessions, webinars, and workshops for the students, for the parents, and for teachers as well. So this is a series of webinars that we have been hosting in collaboration with the French Association of French Teachers and Gulf Association of French Teachers, led by Mr. Mohammed Shafi, and we are very grateful for his leadership and encouragement. And I do appreciate our own French teachers, especially Mr. Kaber Joseph, who has been the lead for us in various aspects, especially with his tech savvy attitude and proactive nature of integrating technology into the classroom. He has been a strong pillar of hope for us in this pandemic situation to run our classes online on a distance mode or on blended learning or on hybrid learning. So we are thankful for these gentlemen who always keep the spirit moving and who always take initiatives. And I wish all the French teachers across the world who have joined us today to learn and to lead and to make French as simple as any native language that the students speak. So, with that commitment, we progress, and I invite Dr. Arun Kumar Santalingam to continue his deliberations and help all our students and teachers. Thank you so much. Let's enjoy the evening.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us by your motivational words. Now, I would like to call upon Monsieur Mohammed Shafi, the President of Gulf French Teachers Forum, to welcome the gathering.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Okay, bonjour tout le monde. Good evening to all of you. First of all, I accord a warm welcome to all the participants, the teachers, and the students who are witnessing this webinar. This forum has been formed with an intent to support the teaching faculty of French and also the students learning French by providing solutions to the challenges faced at the core level. So today's webinar is one of its kind, where the framing of our thought process would help us to overcome that confusion which we face while teaching and learning the French now. So we have an eminent expert with us, Dr. Arun. Dr. Arun has been taking so many webinars all around, and he's also leading. He's an educator. He's an association back in India. So we like to have you here, sir, and we welcome you for this webinar. And I also welcome and thank the principal, Mr. Arogya Reddy, sir, from the Ambassador School, Sharjah, for all his support from the day one of this forum. So all the participants, okay, let us benefit from this webinar. All the best. Thank you. Over to Mr. Keba.
Thank you, sir. I would like to quote the words of Joseph Joubert. Enseigner, c'est apprendre deux fois. To teach is to learn twice. Well, let us make a day to learn, to adapt, and to practice. Bonne journée. Maintenant, j'ai le grand plaisir d'accueillir M. Arun Kumar Santalingam, l'animateur pour faire la présentation. C'est à vous, monsieur.
Respected Mr. Arogya Reddy, Principal of Ambassador School, Sharjah, Mr. Shafi, Founder of the Gulf French Teachers Forum, Mr. Keba Joseph, Treasurer of Gulf French Teachers Forum. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is the first overseas webinar which we are joining as an association. We are collaborating with you, and it's indeed a great pleasure. And thanks for giving me this opportunity, sir. And good evening to all the members of the French fraternity, the teaching fraternity, the students community from all over the world. So I hope that it would be a very useful webinar for all of you. Monsieur Keba, c'est visible?
C'est visible, monsieur, oui.
So today we are going to learn something very different, a topic which is not very much discussed, like in the zone of teaching French as a foreign language, divergent thinking. the non-linear method in identifying the gender of French nouns. So before we enter into divergent thinking, let's raise a few questions. We had some questions when we were students. Like when I was a student, I had certain questions regarding the gender of the French nouns. The first question during my first class, during my first French class was, why do we have this masculine and feminine in French? It's so confusing. We don't have it in English, but why do we have it in French? So this was our first question. As a student, I didn't have the answer. Maybe now I can answer to this question. Maybe some of you might be curious to know why we have this masculine feminine in French. So a little bit of history. It is said that the Proto-Indo-European language had two genders, animate and inanimate. Animate, it was for people and personifications, which was split into masculine and feminine. And then we had inanimate gender, where we had objects and abstract concepts. It is this inanimate gender where we had this neuter gender. So therefore we had three genders, masculine, feminine, neuter gender. So this was there, like once upon a time. The English people dropped totally the grammatical gender, but the French people dropped just the neuter gender, and that's where the confusion started. All inanimate things were classified under masculine and feminine. So this was one theory, which was told by one of my French teachers. Now again, there was another big question, during my student days. What we were taught to find the gender. My father used to say always, Arun, you just go and see the dictionary. That's a good habit. Don't just ask me whether it's masculine or feminine. I think many you might have had similar experiences. And some of my teachers, they used to say all words ending in E are feminine, which many of the French teachers here, you should be knowing that it is only partially yes. The third one was we had to memorize the word with the article. So remembering the word with the article, it was helpful in identifying the gender, which was a good trick as well. Now, the question is it difficult to master the gender of French words? What I would say is no, not at all. There is, an expression in French, ce n'est pas la mer à boire. It is not as if you have to drink the sea. It's not that difficult. I would say it's absolutely easy, but provided you know the techniques. Now let's get back to our divergent thinking. So it might look a little bit complicated, kind of technical term. What is this divergent thinking? First, to know what is divergent thinking, we need to understand what is convergent thinking. Convergent thinking is a fact-based thinking. It's a logical thinking. We try to find out the best possible solution before us based on accuracy. But in divergent thinking, we activate our creative capacities. The thinking is spontaneous, non-linear. There are a lot of unexpected combinations and associations involved in this kind of thinking. Let me make it more clear. Our brains work in two ways. So we have left brain, the left hemisphere, and the right brain, right hemisphere. So when it comes to convergent thinking, it's more of a logical, analytical, and a solution-reducing thinking, as I discussed in the previous slide. And in divergent thinking, it's more of a creative, artistic, and a solution-generating thinking. So you might ask me a question, okay, fine, we have convergent thinking and divergent thinking. But how do you link it with the identification of gender of French words? So if you look at this slide, when it comes to convergent thinking, what we do is to find the gender of a French word, we just go towards certain existing rules, certain facts which have been already created by our ancestors. So basically, we make choices, like we try to choose those solutions. But today, what we are going to discuss is it's all about creating choices. So you're going to move away from what was already created. Rather, you create things on your own, you create your own solutions. So that is divergent thinking. So before we enter into the world of divergent thinking, let us use more of our left brain. So today it's more of like you're going to use both your brains, more of your left brain, and then later half of the webinar, more of your right brain. So before we enter into the zone of divergent thinking, we are going to learn the strategies which our ancestors gave us in finding the gender of French words. So when it comes to convergent thinking, we try to make choices, right? So we were given the following options. So what were the options which were given to us? We can remember the gender through endings. We can remember through sounds. We can remember the gender through categories. We can remember the gender through articles. We can remember the gender through root words. So these were the options given. In fact, when I was a student, I didn't even have these many options. I was just told to memorize the articles. I was just told to just memorize whether a word is masculine or feminine. Later, I came to know that these options were always available. Now, let's discuss the different kinds of solutions which were given by our ancestors. So, the first one is remembering through endings. So, how do we remember a word is masculine or feminine? Feminine, it's through the endings. So, if you can see this particular slide, we have a series of endings. Okay, so most of most of the words ending with these endings are masculine. So we have, for example, accent aigu, a, résumé, pré, for example, which is masculine. EUR, when the word is ending with EUR, it is masculine. Le vendeur, le danseur. The words ending in ien, like le musicien, le chien. Okay, so when it's feminine, it's going to be ien, australienne. Okay. Then we have the words ending in er, like boucher, and the words ending with ier, like ouvrier, which is masculine. The words ending with on, which is masculine, le baron, le patron. Of course, there are exceptions. Okay, so the French is a language of exceptions. We have exceptions to the rule. And then we have endings like tur, okay, which is masculine, the traducteur, words ending with age, age, le garage, le sauvetage, but again we have exceptions like la cage, l'image, la nage, la page, la plage, la rage, all these things. Words ending with al, le journal, le cheval. Words ending with eau, le bateau, le château. Exceptions, l'eau and la peau. The words ending with ent, le segment, le présent. Exception is la jument. Words ending with et, le billet, le projet. Words ending with asme, isme, l'enthousiasme, le tourisme. Words ending with aïn, le cousin, le vin. Words ending with oir. Words ending with ail, le travail. So these endings, they help you to understand, to identify whether a word is masculine or feminine. Now we have certain endings which are mostly feminine. So we have E, deux S, EWC, la maîtresse, EUSC, la vendeuse, la danseuse, yen, la musicienne, la chienne, words ending with ERE or IERE, la bouchère, l'ouvrière, words ending with OWNE, la baronne, la patronne, TRIC, la traductrice, the traducteur we saw in the masculine form, and traductrice, tertrice, AD, the words ending with AD, la pommade, la façade, exception, le stade, words ending with ANC and ENC, l'ambulance, l'essence, which are feminine, exception is le silence, words ending with E accent aigu, l'arrivée, l'idée, exceptions we have a few. The words which are ending with EWL, la demoiselle, words ending with EWTE, la poussette, la cigarette, words ending with IE, la géologie, la librairie, exception is l'incendie, words ending with INE, la cuisine, la cabine, words ending with IAC, la surprise, la devise, words ending with I, la trouvaille, words ending with TE accent aigu, la pitié, la confidentialité, exceptions, le comité, le côté, l'été, le pâté, and words ending with URE, la confiture, la culture, exception is le murmure. There is a website, which I was using as a teacher a long time back, where we have even some statistical data about masculine and feminine. So they have done a small research, taking a limited number of nouns and just trying to find out whether, this ending is masculine or this ending is feminine. So the best suggestion what I can give to the French students who are watching this is, first you have to find out what are the endings which are 100% masculine or 100% feminine. It means there is no exception. So if you can see in the screen, for example, below we have this ENENT and IMENT, which is 100% masculine. And then ENC and ANC, for example, which are 100% feminine. So it is better that, you read all the endings which are 100% masculine and 100% feminine, and then come to other endings which are, let's say, 99% masculine, 99% feminine, and then learn the exceptions. So it's a statistical approach. I've given the link below. It's in the site of University of Toronto, and you can just go through the entire thing given there. Now the next technique our ancestors gave, it is remembering the gender through sounds. So how do we remember it? So if you can see the sound A, when a word ends with the sound A, for example, it's mostly masculine. For example, you have this, you can see in the screen, okay, A, ate. And then the words ending with wa, for example, it is masculine. The words ending with again a, okay, it is masculine. So with the help of the sounds, we try to understand whether a word is masculine or feminine. For example, on the right hand side of the table, we can see, okay, the same sound a, but we have a pronounced consonant. So a plus te, at, for example. Whenever you have at, it is more of feminine. Okay, so it's a research result. At, as, as, was, are, av. So more all these sounds, help us to understand whether a word is masculine or feminine. Okay, so you can just go through it. It's in the same website of University of Toronto. Now let's come to the third technique we have to remember the gender of the words. It's remembering through categories. So what do you mean by categories? Some categories of French words are typically masculine. For example, if you take wines, cheeses, colors, metric units, numbers, except for la quarantaine, la cinquantaine, okay, the numbers ending with AINE, okay. Other than that, the numbers are masculine. We have metals, which are masculine. We have languages, which are masculine. Trees, days of the week, seasons, months, they are all masculine. The same way, we have certain categories of French words which are typically feminine. For example, the brand names of cars, for example, brand names of watches, names of rivers which are feminine, sciences and other domains of learning. La science, l'histoire, la chimie, most are feminine. Of course, there is an exception, le droit, the law, which is an exception. So this is the third technique, remembering through categories. The fourth one is remembering through articles, which I was discussing earlier. So how do we remember with the articles? We just memorize it with the article. For example, when we say ballon, we don't just remember it as ballon, we remember it as le ballon. Okay. Poupée, for example, we don't remember doll as poupée in our brain, but la poupée, so that next time when we retrieve, we know that it is masculine or feminine. The next important technique is remembering through the root words. Okay. So, for example, you have in gare. Gare is a railway station. Okay. So in gare. So another word is made with this root word gare. In aerogare. Okay. So gare is feminine. So aerogare is also feminine. Route. In route, it is feminine. So autoroute, it's automatically feminine. Une strophe, which is feminine, and automatically une apostrophe, which is feminine. But be careful, it's not always true, because une chute means a fall, but un parachute is masculine. So again, we cannot set it as a rule. Okay, that's why it's always fluctuating. The rules which were given to us, okay, when we were a student, okay, it didn't help us. Okay, 100%, it didn't help us. Okay, and that's why like we have to go to this divergent thinking. Always we have the feeling, okay, that we are not guessing it correctly. I guess I was wrong. I guess I was wrong. Okay, so always all these rules, though they are fact-based results, research-based results, but still somewhere we are guessing it wrong. Okay, we are going wrong. Okay, we couldn't reach the perfection. Okay, so all this is a part of our left brain. Okay, so convergent thinking. Okay, now let's come to the world of divergent thinking. So we are going to use more of our right brain. Okay, so it's not a science class, but okay, just to create some curiosity. So what are we going to do here? So we are not going to make choices here. Okay, so we are going to create choices. We are going to remember the gender through divergent thinking, because okay, we were not sure whether a word is masculine or feminine. Okay, so we were somewhere uncomfortable. When someone asks whether it's masculine or feminine, we keep blinking. As a student, also it is embarrassing. As a teacher, also it is embarrassing. So what do we do when there is no way? Basically, what do we do is we create a way. We create a path. So, and that's done through the divergent thinking. So, what do? We try to retain the gender of the word through classification, through creative understanding, through the cause solution, the problem solution effect. And we also try to retain the gender of the word by attributing a gender quality to the word itself. So, I'm going to make it clear for you now. So before explaining you these ways, okay, how this divergent thinking started for me. So as a teacher, normally I was into convergent thinking, going for rules which exist. Okay, so one fine day there was a student, okay, who came to me, and asked, "Sir, is there an interesting way to retain the gender of certain French words? All these rules, it's really, hectic, and there are a lot of words which are exceptions. Like, how do I, retain the gender of certain French words?" So, casually, I was not, prepared for the class, prepared for answering her question. What I did was I wrote on the board, okay, a list of classroom objects. Okay, I mean the objects which the students had. So I wrote on the board un stylo, un crayon, une gomme, une clé, and then even more words, a long list I gave. And then what I did was I asked the students, come on, just tell me one reason, okay, for each word. Okay, how will you find or how will you remember the gender of that particular word? So just try to be creative, just try to find out one trick. So I had some astonishing results from the students. So one student, very smart one, said that, "Sir, as Thilo, I can remember it is masculine because I remember the pen of my dad in his pocket. So mostly I've seen that pen only with my dad and not with my mom." So he came out with an idea. I was totally flabbergasted. The second word was "and crayon." Okay, another little girl said, "Sir, I remember the pink Apsara pencil of my sister. So, I can link it with, the pencil and crayon." And then une gomme is a rubber. Okay, so another student came to me and said, "Sir, it's my mom who corrects me every time." Okay, so it should be feminine. Une gomme should be feminine. Okay, and then the fourth one, une clé, a key. Okay, another student said, "Sir, it's always my mom who has the keys of the most precious chambers in my house. So my mom used to have those keys, okay, with her. So it should be feminine." So everyone came with a strategy, okay, to remember whether the word is masculine or feminine. So this was, the spark I got, okay, in that particular class. Okay, so suddenly I started working a little bit more on this divergent thinking, and there, I got many ideas. Long time back, I think I read in one of the books that when you sit in the same place, same time, you think of the same thing, you get a lot of ideas. I think it was a journalist from Le Monde, I guess. I saw it in one article. So I just sat, and I just did a little bit of brainstorming, and I got some beautiful ideas. So the first idea was retaining the gender through classification. Okay, so when I say classification, so I have classification of groups and classification of pairs. So what is classification of groups? For example, we have a group of stationery items. Le stylo, le crayon, le feutre, le surligneur, le classeur, le bloc-notes, le dossier, l'élastique, le scotch, l'agenda. All these are masculine. Mostly all the stationery items are masculine. And if you can see, only a few are feminine. So this is one strategy which we can give to the students, okay, through games or through some small exercises to make them conscious that, certain groups are totally masculine. And then you can see the group of sports activities as well. Most are masculine. If you see le foot, le volley, le basket, le ping-pong, le tennis, le badminton, le cyclisme, le ski, le patinage, le hockey, le karate, le judo, all these are masculine basically. And only a few are feminine. So by classifying, by making these groups, we can help the students understand that, certain groups are totally masculine and certain groups are totally feminine. So this was one, strategy. The next was classification of pairs. So always we have, we can easily retain certain pairs like Jack and Jill, for example. Okay. The same way we have, in French, certain things go, together. So I try to classify, these pairing into three cases. Okay, case 1, case 2, case 3. So in case 1, what I did was like all these pairs were, like both masculine plus masculine. For example, bread and croissant. Le pain et le croissant, both are masculine. Le vin et le champagne, both are masculine. Le stylo et le crayon, both are masculine, pen and pencil. Le livre et le cahier, the book and the notebook, both are masculine. Le téléphone et le portable, both are masculine. Le mariage et le divorce, both are masculine. Le bien et le mal, both are masculine. So this was one case, which can help us. This is for students as well as for teachers. Okay, we can construct activities, to make the students understand the existence of such kind of pairs, which can help in the identification of the gender of French nouns. And case 2, what is that? Both the words are feminine. La table et la chaise. La moustache et la barbe. La tristesse, la joie et la musique. La belle et la bête. So this is the second case, both are feminine. Let's come to the third case where we have one word which is masculine, the second word which is feminine. Okay. So we have le clavier et la touche, the keyboard and the key. L'escalier et la marche, the staircase and the step. Le soleil et la lune. Okay, one is masculine, another one is feminine. Le pain et la baguette. Le tableau et la craie. Le verre et l'eau. Le mouchoir et la tristesse. Often the students, they forget the gender of the word mouchoir. Okay, even for me when I was a student, it was pretty difficult for me to remember, okay, the gender of mouchoir. So it's le mouchoir. Okay, so that's all for the classification. So we have the classification of groups and we also have the classification of pairs, which can help you in identifying the gender of the words. Now, technique number 2 in divergent thinking is you retain, okay, the gender of the words through creative understanding. Okay, so basically you create a rule for yourself. It's not an existing rule, but to retain a word, you try to access, like one trick. Okay, so for example, we have the word le parapluie. So we do not know whether it's masculine or feminine because pluie is basically feminine, but parapluie is masculine. But how do we remember this? La pluie and le parapluie. See, we have two pictures here. Okay, and in the first picture we have, like a girl, okay, dancing in the rain. So basically, what happens in like in India, I'm talking about India, like when they write songs or poems, they link, okay, the rain with the girl. Okay, so we can understand that, like la pluie, rain is feminine. Okay, that's one way of understanding it. The second one is le parapluie. Why parapluie? The umbrella is masculine because it's always a guy who comes and holds umbrella for a girl, so it's masculine. So you create a rule for yourself, to understand, to identify the gender of the words. You create a strategy. La pluie, le parapluie. So if you look at the picture, you can understand what is the strategy. The next one is often we have this dilemma like un fleuve, is it un fleuve or une fleuve? It's very simple, you just remember un fleuve and une rivière. Okay, so un fleuve, fleuve is un fleuve, but rivière is une rivière. So you remember in this way, you can understand, or you can show it in forms of pictures also to the students so that they can retain it easily. This combo can help. And then finally, okay, a little bit of entertainment. Okay, this is like something which is pretty shocking, okay, for all the French teachers. Okay, a man has a mustache and a beard, okay, barb, but unfortunately, mustache and barb both are feminine. So this can be told to the students. They won't have any confusion. They will never ever forget that mustache and barb is feminine. The next one is like small expressions. You can write it on the board. Okay, for teachers it could be helpful, and you can say that both are masculine. For example, a cat on a hot tin roof. Un chat sur le toit. Okay, so like rhyming words. Even songs can help you. Sometimes by memorizing the songs, you memorize the gender as well. So okay, it's the same technique. The next one is we get inspired by movie names. Okay, so we always have a fascination towards movies. So you can show them the name of certain movies. For example, the War of the Worlds in French. You can show it is in French. It's La Guerre des Mondes. They can remember that guerre is feminine. La Guerre des Mondes. Okay, by the side you can also show like the war, the Bollywood war also just for fun. So this is the second rule, like the creative understanding rule. Now we have the third, okay, rule. What is it? You try to retain, okay, the gender of the word through the cause-solution effect. That is, like we try to, retain a certain kind of pattern. Okay. For example, we have une faute, une erreur, which is the problem. A student commits a mistake, une faute, une erreur, and the solution, okay, it is also of the same gender. For example, une faute, une punition, une maladie, a sickness, and the solution is also feminine, a sickness and a cure. An accident which is masculine, a bandage which is also masculine. Une brûlure, a burn or a wound, une plaie, okay, it is feminine. And the solution, which is pomade. What is pomade? Pomade is an ointment. So both are masculine or both are feminine. So these are some small strategies which you can give to the students, because students normally, they get confused, okay, whether it is an error or an error, for example. These kinds of strategies can really help them. They will never forget. So we are still in the same rule, okay? So the cause and the solution, problem and solution. For example, this lady, she has a rue, okay? And even a rhyming stuff is available here, a rue. And then we have an agrume, okay? So all the citrus fruits, we call it as agrume. So a rue, and the solution is also masculine. The cause is masculine, the solution is also masculine. Un citron, the solution is also masculine. Un médicament, the solution is also masculine. Un sirop de tout, a syrup, a cough syrup, that is also masculine. So these are some small ways you can illustrate and show to the students so that, okay, they don't forget, okay, these the gender of these words. Now the next one, okay, an interesting one is we can retain the gender of the words by attributing a gender quality to the word. For example, we have words like asterisk and obelisk. Okay, both are masculine. Both we can relate it to the heroes Asterix and Obelix. We can automatically relate. So this is one way of remembering. Okay, you just attribute a gender quality to the word. Another example would be, for example, this is a very difficult job, like exercise. Often we forget whether it is an exercise or une exercise. So what we try to do is, like, we try to attribute a gender quality. Un exercice de musculation, okay, un exercice de musculation, and un muscle, we try to attribute it to this. The gender quality, the masculine gender quality to the word, and we remember. And this is for language sake, and if there are any feminists in the group, I'm sorry, this is just for language sake I'm giving. And then another one, okay, another example is, for example, we have une lampe, une bougie, une chandelle, une ampoule. All are related to what? Light, lamp, candle, okay, the bulb. All these things are, all these words are feminine. So if you can see the picture, a woman holding a lamp, a girl holding a diya, okay, or a candle, okay, we can immediately relate, okay, to it, and we can find out that this word, these words or these group of words are feminine. So this is one strategy, okay. So the strategies, they are, it's you who create, it's not me who is creating. Anyone can create, and you can remember it in any way you want. It's all in your brains. So it is not a set of rules, it's divergent thinking. Okay, it is to help you. Okay, I'm just trying to help you to find out your own rule, to create your own rule, your way of thinking. I'm activating your way of thinking to find out the gender of the French words. So these are the different ways. Okay, to sum up, let me repeat. Okay, uh, the different ways, okay, of divergent thinking. Okay, we can retain through classification, we can retain through creative understanding, we can retain through the cause solution effect, we can retain by attributing a gender quality to the word. So I hope, okay, this session on divergent thinking will help you to find out easily the gender of the words. So you can mix both the convergent thinking and the divergent thinking to almost reach 95% of accuracy in finding out, okay, the gender of French nouns. Okay, so if you have any questions, please email me to kriyamaya@gmail.com. So this is my email ID. And to all the French teachers, to all my colleagues, okay, and to all the loving French youngsters, buddies, bon courage, all the best. Okay, keep working, and see you soon, maybe in another webinar. Merci de votre attention. I'm just waiting for some of your questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Monsieur Arun. J'espère que vous avez beaucoup aimé cette présentation, Monsieur Arun. C'est une excellente présentation. Yes, we have learned a new strategy in how to identify the gender of French words. Let us keep learning and practicing it. Thank you, Ms. Yaron, for this wonderful training session. Students and teachers, if you have any questions, you may just ask us in the chat box which is provided the YouTube. Any questions? If you have, you may just post it in your chat box.
Okay, there are a few people, asking for the slides of this presentation. Okay, so don't worry, because I'm just writing a small book on this divergent thinking and how to find out the gender of the French words. So once it's complete, okay, we will be diffusing it live. So that will be a 100-page book, okay, which will be helpful for everyone. So please wait until then. Okay, you can keep watching these ideas on YouTube.
So one question, what about the words like malade, which is both masculine and feminine?
Yeah, there are always words like, for example, we have tour. Okay, we have le tour and la tour. Okay, we always have some exceptions, and exceptions we have to we have to just remember. We don't have thousands of exceptions. So again, as I said, Mr. Rankit, what you can do is you create a strategy, okay, to remember that this particular word, okay, is masculine or feminine. Maybe you can just create a strategy. For example, malade. Okay, malade, le malade, la malade. I will tell you another word. I will just explain it with tour, le tour and la tour. Okay, I can just remember, okay, me coming around a tower. Okay, je fais un tour autour de la tour, for example. So I can just imagine this way, remembering le tour and la tour. Okay, so in that way, we can still, create our own strategies to remember the words. I mean, the gender of the words.
Another question. When speaking about a male, why is sometimes asked as la personne?
Yeah, this is a question which is supposed to be asked to an academician or someone very deep in etymology, a linguist. So I'm not an expert in this stuff. Okay, so I've just tried to construct certain rules for you to just like facilitate things. But maybe I'll just try to find out why. Okay, maybe I'll contact one academician whom I'll be meeting shortly, and I'll post it on the same group. I mean, in the YouTube comments, I will post it soon.
Rajeshwari is asking, sir, kindly clarify the gender of seasons. Why EN is used for 3 seasons?
Okay, see, on Eche, on Othon, okay, you're talking about that. On
Wait,
Ete, on Othon, right? Okay, it's starting with the vowel. Okay, it's basically starting with the vowel, and that's why we use on, en. When it starts with the vowel, we use on, en. Any other questions?
students, teachers, if you have any questions, you may just ask us. Thank you for your questions. So now I would like to call upon Mr. Shafi to deliver the word of thanks.
Okay, bonsoir again. Good evening, all of you. Good evening, everyone. This was one of the wonderful session, and it opened the new ideas to overcome this gender confusion. So on behalf of Ambassador School Sharjah and the Gulf French Teacher Forum, I extend my thanks to Dr. Arun for this sharing his new way of thinking towards divergent thinking to solve this problem. Thank you very much, and we are eagerly waiting for your books to come out, and which will benefit a lot. Thank you, sir. And I also thank the principal of Ambassador School, Mr. Arogya Reddy, and all his team for his their wholehearted support in all our endeavors right from the day one, and this has made a lot of effect and benefit to the teachers and the students around the world. I thank you, sir, and your team for extending your full support, and also I thank Mr. Keba. Even being having a very tight schedule with his lot of work, he takes out time for all this support. Thank you, Mr. Keba, for all your support, and also all the participants, the teachers, all our colleagues all around the world, and all the dear students for sparing some time and learning about it. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, the feedback link will be shared in a while. So you may just fill your feedback form so you may receive your certificates once filled up. The link is shared in the chat box, so you may just fill the form to receive your certificates. Thank you all. Thanks again. We'll meet you all in another webinar.